Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Chantilly's Kitchen Hop, and I'm your host, CHANTILLY'S, and my channel is dedicated to the gluten-free vegan lifestyle. And today I have a really good, healthy dessert to share with you guys, so you feel like you're getting something, but you're still being good. So today we're doing some chocolate banana muffins, topping them with some chocolate chips, nice and fluffy, a little bit of sweet, but you don't have to feel bad. So if you guys would like to learn how to make these, make sure you stick around. And if you like what I'm doing, hit that like button and subscribe. See you in a sec. Bye guys. Hi guys. Happy Tuesday everybody. Welcome to Chantilly's Kitchen Hop. I'm your host CHANTILLY'S. And we're on number 37 today, if you guys can believe that. I've been doing this for quite a while, so I'm kind of sticking with the New Year's theme. I know most people kind of like to change up their diets a little bit, and we all start thinking about health and kind of try to get that stuff in there. Well, I have one today you guys will not know is healthy. It's delicious. It's super good. We're doing chocolate. I sound like I'm from New York. Chocolate banana muffins. These are super yummy, and then we're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of chocolate chips on top. So it's just, you know, you feel like you're getting a really good treat, but they are pretty healthy. And show you guys here, they're just nice and fluffy, moist. So good. I have to admit, I made these last night. I ended up eating 3 of them because they were so good. I was like, oh, I'll just have one more, and then a little later, oh, just one more, and I'm like, I need to save some for tomorrow. So get these out of the way, admit my guilt there. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. So obviously, you know, I usually do miss this step, so we're going to preheat our oven, and we're doing 375 today, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do that. Make sure I got the temperature right, because sometimes I do forget. But yes, 375. And the next step, we're just going to get a little side bowl. Doesn't have to be very big, just a small bowl. And we're going to put 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. And if you guys can find that Dutch cocoa powder, get it. It's just extra decadent. It's extra chocolatey, just super good. And it's a higher quality cocoa powder. Fortunately, I couldn't find it, so I just have, you know, a regular cocoa powder from Sprouts. It's gluten-free and vegan. So we're doing 1/3 cup of that, and then you want to put in 1/3 cup of boiling water. Make sure it's boiling because we want to get the cocoa powder definitely all dissolved and stuff. So 1/3 cup of boiling water, and I got a little pan boiling next to me, so let's go ahead and get that in there. Yay, and I didn't spill. And then imagine that, I did forget something to stir with. Alright, so we just want to get this nice and dissolved. It'll only take a couple seconds really, because that's why we do want to do the boiling water. But we do want to make sure our cocoa powder gets nice and dissolved in there, so just go ahead and give that a good mix up. Kind of try to get the edges down too and stuff, so... But be careful because you don't want it splashing on yourself or anything like that, because it is going to be kind of hot. So just give it a nice whisk there. Spread down the edges. And then we're just going to set this guy aside for the rest of, well, not the rest of the recipe, but until the end. So let's go ahead and move that aside. Next, we're going to want to have, and I know most of you guys probably have these laying around. I am the worst with bananas. There's always a couple, you know, those ones that you know you're not going to eat but you still save. So those nice brown ripe guys that are just perfect, you want to get 2 large of those, or if you only have the small ones, probably do about 3. And we just want to get them nice and mashed up, so as much as possible. A little bit of chunks are okay. That's actually the little bit of white spots you saw in there are just like nice yummy chunks of banana that add that extra burst of sweetness. So it doesn't have to be pureed fine, but just get them nice and mashed up. Next, we're going to add in just 1/2 cup of sugar. You can do white sugar, brown sugar, monk fruit, obviously, which is healthier, but just 1/2 cup of that. Brown sugar is obviously going to make it a little bit darker kind of taste to it and stuff, so that's all preference. For these, I just decided on the white sugar today, but like I said, you guys can do your choice. And then next in this bowl, we're going to do 1/3 cup of vegan milk of choice. I like that, the almond cashew protein blend. I do love that one the best, especially with baking. It seems to have the most milk-like texture of stuff that I found, and with baking sometimes that is kind of important because there is a difference between this and water. But actually, if you guys don't have any vegan milk in the house, you can substitute a third a cup of water, but the flavor is much better if you do the milk. So we're going to do a third a cup of that. I got my little spatula here. And then we're going to want 2 tablespoons of oil. And you can do kind of neutral flavor oil of choice. So you can do the coconut oil, but just make sure if you do that, your milk is at room temperature, because otherwise it's going to harden when you pour it in there. And we definitely don't want that, because that's not going to be good for the recipe and stuff. So I'm actually just using soybean oil. I don't normally use that, but I did want just a more neutral flavor. And with it being kind of chilly today, my coconut oil is rock hard, so I am not using that. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of that. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla. Make sure I use the right guy. So we got a teaspoon of vanilla. Alright, get that. And then just get this mixed up. It's just going to take a sec. Pretty much you're just looking for the sugar to dissolve and everything to get all dispersed and stuff. So just give it a good mix up. I like this recipe too because you don't have to use the hand mixer. You don't need the stand mixer. Really, you could cut down on the bowls and mix the flour in here, but it really does help to use a separate bowl for the dry mix. I have learned that over the years. I used to think that it didn't, so I didn't, but I do notice it actually really does help disperse stuff better. Things seem to cook more even, so do take that extra step. Alright, so it looks like we got everything all nice and mixed up here, so set this aside for a sec. Then we're going to want to grab a bowl for our dry ingredients, and we're going to do 1.5 cups of gluten-free flour. And I usually do use the Bob's Red Mill. I like the all-purpose. He also has a 1-for-1, and there's tons of other companies that do make it. I just really do tend towards this one. I feel like it cooks the most even. I've never had any issues with it, which I do have to admit with some of the other ones, because they are a different base. I have had recipes that I've done multiple times not turn out. So I would recommend once you find one, stick with it, because you will notice a difference on stuff. So that's just my little side note there. So we're doing 1.5 cups of that, and you want to spoon it in and then level it. So you're not getting too much. You never want to scoop it. You actually pack more in there. So make sure you do that. And we're doing 1.5 cups. Make sure I remember everything. And then we're going to want to do a teaspoon of xanthum gum, which is always good to add to your gluten-free mixes. But if you don't have it around, you can kind of leave it out for this one. It'll just make, the cookies will just be a little, muffins will just be a little bit denser. Forgot what I was making. And then we want to do a teaspoon of baking powder. And I actually just have the Kroger's today, and it actually is gluten-free and vegan, so that's what I got. And then we want 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So we're getting lots of leavening agents in here, so that's why this one's going to be just nice and fluffy muffins. And that xanthum gum just helps a little bit extra. And then we're also going to do 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Right, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're just going to whisk this up, just, you know, you're just trying to disperse the baking soda powder and xanthan gum kind of as much as possible throughout the flour. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Sometimes I do that. Okay, so we don't even have to do this in batches or anything. Just go ahead and dump your flour mix right in there. And we do want to use a wooden spoon for this part, so I'm going to take my fork out. Alright, and then we're actually just going to mix this enough. You actually still want to see a little bit of the flour, so we're not mixing this too much, just enough that it's starting to get all incorporated, but not too done yet. So all the mixing is actually really going to come in when we add in that cocoa powder mix that we did to start. to give you guys an idea of what I mean. You can still see a little bit of the flour, but not a lot. There's not a lot of huge chunks and stuff in there. Just mostly dispersed. And then now let's see, without making too big of a mess, let's dump in our cocoa powder water mix. I'm just going to scrape down my edges so I make sure I get all the chocolate. I even have a pouring side. I should probably use it, huh? Alright, and go ahead and scrape your bowl because you want all that chocolatey goodness. This is what makes well, besides the banana and the chocolate chips and I guess all the other ingredients, but right now, just give it a nice good stir until pretty much everything's incorporated. You don't want to stir it too much, but just going to make sure there's no flour hanging around. Everything looks good and dispersed. It's going to look really chocolatey, which it even tricks your mind because it's just decadent. Make sure we scrape down our edges. Make sure there's no clumps of flour hiding in there. It's always kind of scrape around the bottom too. Sometimes you can have little pockets of flour that end up hiding on there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Don't see any clumps of flour, so that's really the main thing. We're just trying to make sure no clumps of flour and stuff, but there's obviously going to be clumps because of the bananas, so it is a little hard to tell sometimes, so I just give it a few extra just to be sure. Alright, and this is actually going to make 12 muffins, so it's nice that you don't have to worry about having extra batter and then standing around waiting for the muffins to come out, and then you wait for them to cool, and then you pull them off. So I do like when they kind of work out where you got perfect measurements. So go ahead and get your muffin pan, and non-stick or regular. I just really love using the liners. I have some cute mustache ones right now for Valentine's Day, so I'm going to head and use those. But if you do have a non-stick, you don't really have to use the liners. You can just toss them right in there. And we're going to fill them about 2/3 full. And honestly, I found just like fourth a cup ended up kind of working pretty good. Try not to make them too messy. So what I do is I put the fourth a cup in each one, and then there'll be a little bit left over at the end, and then you just, you kind of disperse them evenly throughout, because you do want to try to keep your muffins as close to the same size as possible, because you do want them to cook at the same rate. If you get a little guy in there that's a lot smaller than the other ones, he's going to probably end up burning, and vice versa. If you have too big, it's probably going to end up doing the same thing. My mom says that it looks yummy. She wants to lick the spoon. It is yummy. You should definitely try these, Mom. They're super, super good. That's why I had 3 of them yesterday. And I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to have 3 more today. I've already had one. I had one for breakfast. It's really, really good with coffee because they're not, like I said, not super sweet, little sweet, and then they have the banana, so I mean, that makes them healthy, right? So we're going to fill these up. You're going to want them, like I said, about 2/3. We're going to pop them in. Oh, I almost forgot one step. Before we pop them in anywhere, let's get some chocolate chips. You can do chocolate chips, chocolate chunks. If you even have a vegan chocolate bar sitting around, just chop that up into some nice little slivers and stuff. Probably ends up being about 2 tablespoons. We're not doing a ton. We're just going to sprinkle a couple chocolate chips on the top, so just a nice little disbursement. You could even, if you want to make these a little extra sweet and surprise, since I don't actually have mine totally full yet because I was just showing you guys, I'm going to take mine, I'm going to put chocolate chips in the center, and then why not top them the rest of the way like they're supposed to, and then a couple more, so that way there's some nice little chocolate chips that do kind of sit in the center. Although I have to, when mine cooked, they did sink through a little bit, so it was nice. There were chocolate chips almost throughout every bite. So now that you've done that stuff with the chocolate chips, you could even do coconut shreds or something like that too if you guys want. We're going to pop them in the oven, 375, and we're going to cook them about 18 to 20 minutes. Mine did take 20, but you do always want to check them about 18, just take a toothpick, stick it in there, and if it comes out clean, then you're good to go. If it still seems like it's kind of resistant or a little stuck on there, just cook it the rest of the 2 minutes, and I bet you they'll be good to go. And then just let them sit in the pan for 5 minutes, and then go ahead and pull them out, and then cool the rest of the way on the rack. And do let them cool. I do have to tell you guys that, because I actually thought that I had messed these up yesterday, because I tried to eat one probably only 3 minutes after taking it out of the oven, and it just would not come off the wrapper, so I had to kind of peel it off and then peel some extra pieces off. But I did notice when I waited and I was good and they cooled, it came right off. So that was just me being super impatient. So it is kind of important to let them cook the rest of the way while they cool. So that's actually why we do that. But I want to give you guys one more peek, because that is actually our recipe for the day. Really easy. I think that was actually under 10 ingredients, which always makes it nice. You don't have to have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of extra special stuff. I feel like everything I kind of use today is staples in the pantry. I feel like cocoa powder kind of lasts a year, so I usually end up having that around for quite a while. And I know it's raining here today, but I think tomorrow, if it's not, me and Scoundrel Studios will go take the rest of these muffins and go find some people that would really appreciate them, give them just a nice treat and lift me up for the new year. And that's it for today, guys. So I really hoped you liked the recipe. I know this is definitely one of my favorites when I'm trying to be good, but I really need that sweet treat. So I hope you guys really try it. I hope you loved it, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys. See ya.